Katulad nung derivatives of exponential and logarithmic, dito sa derivatives of trigonometric and inverse trigonometric functions, kailangan ma-memorize nyo rin yung mga formulas. So we have 6 for trigonometric and 6 for inverse trigonometric. So for our theorem 1, the derivative of sine x is equal to cosine x. The derivative of cosine x is equal to the negative of sine x. Number 3, the derivative of tan x is equal to secant squared x. The derivative of cotangent x is equal to the negative of cosecant squared x. The derivative of secant x is equal to secant x tangent x. And the derivative of cosecant x is equal to the negative of cosecant x cotangent x. Now let's prove that the derivative of sin x is equal to cosine x. So, ito lang ipoprove natin kasi halos similar naman yung proof ng ibang trigonometric functions. So, for our proof, we will use the limit definition of derivative, that is, the limit of sine of x plus h minus sine x all over h as h approaches 0. Note that h here is equal to delta x. Okay, ginawa ko siyang h para hindi kayo malito. So now, that is equal to the limit of, okay, baka nagtataka kayo, bakit itong sine of x plus h naging, eto na siya. So, i-review lang natin, kung maalala ninyo yung sine a plus b ninyo sa inyong trigonometry, that is equal to, di ba, sina cos b plus cosa sin b. Okay? So that is sine of x cosine of h plus cosine of x sine of h. Okay? Then minus sine x all over h as h approaches 0. Ngayon, pag tinanggal natin yung kanyang parenthesis, we have the limit of sine x cosine h plus cosine x sine h minus sine x all over h as h approaches 0. Ngayon, pwede ko siyang i-rearrange. Okay? So that becomes cosine x sine h plus sine x cosine h minus sine x. Parang pinagbaliktad ko lang yung position ng dalawa. Bakit? Okay? Kasi pansinin niyo dito, meron tayong sine h tapos h. Tapos dito, meron tayong cosine h tapos h. Kung ma-remember niyo yung trigonometric na limits natin, di ba meron tayo nung limit nung sin h over h, tapos yung 1 minus cos h over h, yon. So, kaya ko siya ginawang ganito para magamit natin yon. So, since we have a sum here, pwede ko siyang gawing limit of cosine x over sin h over h, okay, pinaghiwalay ko na, plus yung limit nung sin x cos h minus sin x all over h. Ngayon dito naman, lipat ko lang ito at saka ito. Okay? So, we have negative sine x plus sine x cosine h over h. Bakit ko yun ginawa? Kasi pwede kong ilabas mamaya si negative sine x. So, dito sa taas, pwede natin ilabas yung cosine x para maiwan si sine h over h. Dito naman, pwedeng ilabas si negative sine x para maiwan si 1 minus cos h over h. So, magiging ganito siya. Bakit? Kasi ito, alam na natin yung limit nito, di ba? At alam din natin yung limit nito. Ano ba yung limit ng sin h over h? Di ba yan ay equal to 1? Ano naman yung limit ng 1 minus cos h over h? Yan ay equal to 0. So, balikan niyo yung lesson natin about limits of trigonometric functions. Therefore, since ito 1 at ito 0, then we have cos x times 1 minus sin x times 0. So, that is now equal to cosine of x. Now, first example. We differentiate f of x equals 3 times secant x minus 10 times cotangent x. So, since we have a difference here, pwede natin gamitin yung difference rule. So we have the derivative of 3 secant x minus the derivative of 10 cotangent x. So pwede nating ilabas yung 3 at yung 10 kasi constants yung mga yan. So we have 3 times the derivative of secant x minus 10 times the derivative of cotangent x. Or we have 3 times the derivative of secant x is secant x tan x. And the derivative of cotangent x is negative cosecant squared x. So we have 3 times secant x tan x minus 10 times negative cosecant squared x. Or that is 3 secant x tan x plus 10 cosecant squared x kasi negative tsaka negative. Let's differentiate g of x equals x cubed sine x. So since we have a product here, gagamitin natin yung fig GIF. So we have here our f, x cubed, and sine x as our g. So using our fig plus GIF, we have derivative of f is 3x squared times g plus the derivative of g is cosine x, and we have f which is x cubed. By simplifying, that is now equal to 3x squared sine x plus x cubed cosine x. Or pwedeng ilabas natin yung x squared, so we have x squared times 3 sine x plus x cosine x. Differentiate h of x equals secant x all over 1 plus tangent x. So we have here a quotient. So gagamitin natin yung quotient rule. That is fig minus GIF all over g squared. So we have, this is our f and this is our g. So f prime is derivative of secant x. G is 1 plus tangent x. Okay. Minus GIF. G prime is the derivative of 1 plus tangent x times f, which is secant x, all over 1 plus tangent x squared. Or that is, ano ba yung derivative ng secant x? That is secant x tan x. Derivative ng 1 plus tangent x is, di ba yan ay 0 plus secant squared x. Kaya secant squared x na lang. So we have 1 plus tangent x times secant x tan x minus secant x times secant squared x all over the square of 1 plus tan x. Or that is, okay, distribute natin to dito. So we have secant x tan x plus secant x tan squared x. Minus, eto naman, pag multiplyin natin, we have secant cube x all over 1 plus tangent x squared. So, pansinin ninyo, yung numerator natin, lahat may secant x. So, pwede nating ilabas yung secant x, which gives us with secant x times the tangent x plus tangent squared x minus secant squared x all over the square of 1 plus tangent x. Now, etong secant squared x dito, di ba, alam natin that that is equal to 1 plus tangent squared x. Okay? Yung ating Pythagorean identities. So we have secant x times tangent x plus tangent squared x minus 1 plus tangent squared x all over 1 plus tangent x squared. If we remove the parentheses, we have secant x times tan x plus tan squared x minus 1 minus tan squared x. At pwede na natin i-cancel itong part na to kasi magzi-0. So that is now equal to secant x times tan x minus 1 all over the square of 1 plus tan x. Let's differentiate f of x equals 3 sine x minus 7 cos x. So since meron tayong difference, so we can use the difference rule. So we have 3 times the derivative of sine x minus 7 times the derivative of cosine x. Or that is simply 3 times cosine x minus 7 times negative sine x. Or 3 cosine x plus 7 sine x. Differentiate g of x equals sine 2x. Quotient dito g prime of x is not equal to cosine 2x. Okay? Kasi di ba ang alam lang natin, derivative of sine x is equal to cosine x. Pero hindi nito sinasabi na derivative ng sine 2x is equal to cosine 2x. Okay? Sine x lang is equal to cosine x. Actually, ang gagamitin dito dapat ay chain rule. Yun yung next na topic natin. However, meron namang way kung paano to sagutan. Yun ay, kailangan alam natin yung equivalent ng sine 2x. At ano bang equivalent niyan? That is equal to 2 sine x cos x. So, eto, yung sine x natin, x na lang, tapos yung cosine natin, x na lang din. So, pwede na natin gamitin yung derivative natin kanina. So, note that sine 2x is equal to 2 sine x cos x. Therefore, g prime of x is equal to 2 times the derivative of sine x cos x. So, meron tayo ditong product. So, this is our f and this is our g. So, gamitin natin ang fig plus gif. So, 2 times, anong f prime natin? Cos x. Ano ang g natin? Cos x. Plus, ang g prime natin is negative sine x at ang f natin is sine x. So, we now have 2 times cosine squared x minus sine squared x. Pero ano ba yung equivalent nito? Cosine squared x minus sine squared x. Di ba yan yung ating cosine 2x? Therefore, the answer is 2 cosine 2x. Now, for the inverse trigonometric functions, eto medyo mas madugo siya kaysa nung kanina. At kailangan i-memorize nyo rin itong mga to. So, the derivative of arc sine of x is equal to 1 over the square root of 1 minus x squared. The derivative of arc cosine x is equal to the negative of 1 over square root of 1 minus x squared. The derivative of arc tan x is equal to 1 over 1 plus x squared. The derivative of arc cotangent x is equal to the negative of 1 over 1 plus x squared. The derivative of arc secant x is equal to 1 over x times the square root of x squared plus 1. And finally, the derivative of arc cosecant x is equal to the negative of 1 over x times the square root of x squared plus 1. So, kung papansinin ninyo, parang yung isa is negative lang nung isa. Okay? So, parang tatlo lang yung i-memorize nyo dito kasi nga yung tatlo, negative lang naman nung isa. Let's differentiate x squared times arc sine of x. So, since we have a product here, so gagamitan natin ng product rule. This is our f and this is our g. So, we have fig plus gif. So, f prime is, ito yung f prime natin, times g, ito yung g natin, plus g prime, ito yung g prime natin, and this is our f. So, we have arc sine of x times the derivative of x squared plus x squared times the derivative of arc sine of x. Or that is arc sine of x times 2x, okay, ito yung derivative nito, plus x squared times 1 over the square root of 1 minus x squared. Or if we simplify that, that is equal to 2x arc sine x plus x squared all over the square root of 1 minus x squared. Basta alam niyo yung mga derivatives, memorize niyo yun, wala namang problema. Masasagutan ninyo itong mga to. Now, let's differentiate 1 plus arc tan of x all over 2 minus 3 arc tan of x. So, quotient ito, gagamitin natin ng quotient rule. That is fig minus gif all over g squared. So we have f prime times g minus g prime times f all over g squared. So that is 2 minus 3 arctan x times the derivative of 1 plus arctan of x minus 1 plus arctan x times the derivative of 2 minus 3 arctan x all over the square of 2 minus 3 arctan x. So that is now 2 minus 3 arctan x times eto, 0 to, derivative ng 1 ay 0, plus the derivative of arctan x is 1 over 1 plus x squared. So minus 1 plus arctan x times the derivative of 2 is 0, and then we have negative 3, then derivative ng arctan x is 1 over 1 plus x squared. Kaya negative 3 over 1 plus x squared. All over the square of 2 minus 3 arctan x. Simplifying further, we have, so ipasok natin to dito sa terms natin, we have 2 over 1 plus x squared minus 3 times arctan x all over 1 plus x squared minus, eto din, ipasok din natin dito sa dalawa. So we have negative 3 over 1 plus x squared minus 3 arctan x all over 1 plus x squared all over the square of 2 minus 3 arctan x. Pag tinanggal na natin yung negative dito, magiging plus na to at magiging plus na to. So, pwede na natin i-cancel tong part na to. So, we have 2 over 1 plus x squared plus 3 all over 1 plus x squared all over the square of 2 minus 3 arctan x. Or that is equal to 5 over 1 plus x squared all over the square of 2 minus 3 arctan x. Simplifying further, di ba ganitong ibig sabihin yan? 5 over 1 plus x squared divided by 2 minus 3 arctan x squared. And alam natin, pag nagdi-divide tayo ng fractions, kinukuha natin yung reciprocal ng divisor tapos minumultiply natin. So that becomes 5 over 1 plus x squared times 1 over the square of 2 minus 3 arctan x. Or simply, the final answer is 5 over 1 plus x squared times the square of 2 minus 3 arctan x. And finally, let's differentiate h of x equals sine x plus x squared arc cotangent x. So, since meron tayong sum, kunin natin yung derivative ng sine x plus derivative of x squared cotangent x. Pero dito, gagamit tayo ng product. So, we have derivative of sine x is cosine x plus derivative of x squared arc cot x is, gamitan natin ng fig plus gif. We have f prime equal to 2x times g, which is equal to arc cot x, plus g prime, we have negative 1 over 1 plus x squared, times f, which is x squared. So that is now equal to cosine x plus 2x arc cotangent x minus x squared over 1 plus x squared.